It all started when my dad remarried. I was 19 in college, still living at home during breaks, and not exactly thrilled about a new woman stepping into our lives. My mom had been gone for years, and honestly, I didn't think my dad would ever move on. But then came her, Sarah. She was younger than I expected, maybe in her early 30s. Too young for my dad, I thought. Too pretty. Too everything. First, I kept my distance. She didn't try to push herself into my world, which I appreciated. But she had this way of being warm without being intrusive. She'd make breakfast for both of us, ask how my classes were going, joke with me about the TV shows we both liked. I couldn't deny it, she was easy to talk to. Sometimes easier than my dad. He was always busy, buried in work, in and out, barely present. She was the one who asked me how I was doing. And not the "how are you" ask out of obligation. She actually listened. Over time we started talking more. I'd be on the couch, and she'd join me with tea. Started feeling normal. Comfortable. We talked about everything. Music, books, the things I wanted to do after college. She encouraged me in a way that felt real. No one else had ever really seen me like that. I was just the quiet kid, the one who didn't ask for much. But with her I felt seen. The weird part. She started remembering little things I said, and I mean all of them. She brought me my favorite snacks when she went shopping. She got me a journal because she heard me mention I liked writing. I laughed it off, but deep down it meant something. It made me feel special. Maybe too special. There was this moment. I don't even know if she realized how it landed, but she said, "You're nothing like your dad. You're softer. More thoughtful." It didn't sound like a compliment. Sounded like a comparison. And it stuck with me. My dad had stopped noticing her, I think. He was always tired, always distracted. She'd try to talk to him, and he'd brush her off. But not me. He listened. One night, we stayed up talking while my dad was away on a business trip. We were sitting on the porch, just watching the sky, and she started opening up about her loneliness. Not directly, but in that way people do when they're hoping you'll read between the lines. She said things like, "Sometimes I wonder if people ever really see the version of me that's still full of hope." It hit harder than it should have. I didn't say anything inappropriate. I didn't touch her. But I felt something shift. From then on, everything was laced with tension. She laughed a little longer at my jokes. Her hugs lasted a beat too long. I started noticing how she smelled when she walked past me, how close she'd sit on the couch. I told myself I was imagining it. Had to be. This was my stepmom. But I didn't pull back either. I liked it. I liked being needed. I liked that someone finally looked at me like I mattered. I tried to tell myself that she was just being nice. That I was projecting. That maybe I was lonely too. But in the quiet moments when we were alone in the house, I could feel the air between us shift. There was a day she asked me to help fix something under the sink. I was kneeling down and she was behind me, and when I stood up, we were suddenly face to face. Neither of us moved. She looked at me for a second too long. Then she smiled and said thank you, but her voice was soft, almost shy. I walked away before I did something stupid. At night, I'd lie in bed thinking about her. About the way she talked to me, the way she looked at me when no one else was around. I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop. I found myself seeking her out. Taking longer to come downstairs, hoping she'd be in the kitchen. Sitting in the living room when I knew she was reading nearby. One morning she made pancakes just for me. My dad had already left. She sat across from me watching me eat and said, "You've grown into someone really incredible. Your dad doesn't even see it." I didn't know how to respond to that. I felt heat rise in my face, and all I could say was thanks. I started writing again because of her. Short stories mostly. Stuff I never showed anyone. But one night she found my notebook. I'd left it on the coffee table. When I came back she was sitting there reading. She looked up, eyes wide. "This is beautiful," she said. "You have such a deep heart." Froze. I didn't even remember what I'd written, but I knew it wasn't meant for anyone. I told her it was just stuff I did for fun, but she shook her head. "No, this means something." "You have something in you your father lost a long time ago." That line stuck with me. It shouldn't have, but it did. It became harder to ignore what was happening. I started dreaming about her. Nothing graphic, just soft moments. Her hand in mine. Her voice in my ear. I woke up feeling guilty. I tried to stay out of her way, but she'd find me. She always found me. Once, she caught me about to leave the house and said, "Hey, take a second." She fixed my collar, brushed something imaginary off my shirt. Her hand lingered. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw it in her eyes. Something I didn't want to admit was real. She was looking at me the way people look at someone they want. It wasn't maternal. It wasn't innocent. And it wasn't just in my head. I wish I had walked away. I wish I had put up a wall. But I didn't. I stood there. Let it happen. Let the moment hang in the air like a secret. I still don't know the exact second it all began. Maybe it was slow. Maybe it started the first time she remembered my favorite tea. Or the first time I noticed how her eyes lingered when I spoke. But by now it was clear. This wasn't just a harmless bond anymore. This was something else. Something dangerous. And the worst part, I didn't want it to stop. It happened the night my dad left for a 3-day work trip. I remember the silence in the house being different. Thicker, heavier, like something was waiting to happen. She made dinner just for the two of us. We sat across from each other. And for the first time, neither of us tried to fill the silence with small talk. It wasn't awkward. It was charged. Her eyes didn't move from mine the entire meal. After we ate, she asked if I wanted wine. I hesitated, but she said, "You're not a kid anymore." She poured us both a glass. It felt casual, but I knew it wasn't. We sat on the couch, sipping slowly. She talked about how disconnected she felt. How she was tired of pretending. How some nights, she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. That was enough. She looked at me and said, "You make me feel seen." I tried to laugh it off, but her expression didn't change. She moved closer. My heart was pounding so loud I thought she'd hear it. She touched my face gently, just her fingers on my jaw. I didn't stop her. I didn't even flinch. Then she kissed me. Soft at first, testing the moment. When I didn't pull away, she kissed me again, deeper. And just like that, the line was gone. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I felt guilty. Because I didn't. That's what scared me most. Kept playing it over in my head. Her lips, her voice, the way she looked at me like I was the only person left who understood her. I expected her to act different the next day, but she didn't. She smiled like nothing had changed. But everything had. From that moment it became regular. Whenever my dad was gone or distracted, we found time. It wasn't just physical. Talk more. We shared secrets. She told me things she never said to anyone else. How my dad hadn't touched her in over a year. How she felt like she'd made a mistake marrying him. I listened. I absorbed it all. I told myself I was helping her, giving her what she needed. But deep down I knew that was a lie. I should have felt shame. I should have ended it. But every time she touched me, the guilt got smaller. Every whispered word, every stolen moment. It all felt like something we were meant to find. I started lying to my friends. Skipping class just to be home when he wasn't. I lived for those moments with her. Then she started calling me late at night, whispering my name like a secret. She'd say she missed me even though we were in the same house. I'd sneak downstairs just to be near her, even if it was for 5 minutes. It became an addiction, one I had no interest in quitting. She told me she felt alive with me, that she hadn't felt wanted in years, that no one looked at her the way I did. I started to believe I was doing something good, that I was giving her something my dad couldn't. That made it easier to keep going. I knew it was wrong. I just didn't care anymore. We became reckless. One afternoon we didn't hear the garage door. My dad came home early, but by some miracle we weren't caught. After he left the room, she looked at me with wild eyes and laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was real. The danger made it feel more powerful. One day she told me she loved me. She whispered it, scared of her own words. I didn't say it back at first. Couldn't. But I thought about it constantly. I didn't know if what I felt was love or obsession, but it owned me completely. I stopped seeing her as my stepmom. She became something else entirely. Secret I lived for. A connection I couldn't explain. Every time we touched, it felt like a rebellion against everything we were supposed to be. I started wondering what would happen if my dad found out. If we ran away together. If we could start over. She didn't laugh when I brought it up. She asked, "Would you really do that?" Said yes, and I meant it. It wasn't just lust anymore. I started to believe we could make it work. That this twisted story could have a real ending. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew the fall was coming. And when it hit, it would hit hard. I just didn't know when. I started noticing how much time I spent checking my phone. Not for texts from friends, not for school notifications, but from her. Sarah. She started messaging me during the day, short things at first. "Miss you. Wish you were here." Then they got bolder. She started sending photos. Nothing explicit, just her in everyday moments, but the way she looked into the camera, the way she bit her lip or pulled her hair to the side, it was meant for me. It always felt like it was just for me. I started panicking every time my dad picked up my phone by accident or looked over my shoulder. I put a password on it, turned off notifications. I deleted everything after reading it, but it never felt safe enough. Every time I left the house, I felt like someone could see it written on my face. Like the guilt had finally taken a physical form and was hovering over my head. Dad started asking questions. Not directly. It was more like casual observations with a sharp edge. "You two seem to get along well." Or, "She talks about you a lot." First I played it off. Mile. Nodded. Said nothing. But I could tell something in his tone had changed. He wasn't just making conversation. He was fishing for something. Sarah noticed it too. She told me to be careful, to act more distant when we were all together. We sat apart during meals. Barely made eye contact when he was around. But it felt forced. It looked unnatural. And that only made things worse. He grew colder. Not angry, just quiet. Watchful. Calculating. Like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't want to believe existed. I started pulling away from friends. I avoided texts, calls, invites. I was paranoid someone would notice something, ask the wrong question, catch a strange look between us. I didn't have the energy to lie to anyone else. Lying to myself, and my dad was already consuming everything. Then came the questions I couldn't dodge. Dad asked if there was something going on, something I needed to tell him. I said no too quickly. His eyes narrowed. He didn't press. He just stared at me for a long moment, then walked away. But I knew then, he didn't believe me. He was just waiting for proof. Sarah told me not to worry, but she looked shaken. It was the first time I saw real fear in her. She started talking about leaving him. For real this time. No fantasies, no vague what. She told me she couldn't take it anymore. That she was going to pack a bag and go. That maybe we could figure something out. She said, "You and me. Just us. We'll be okay." I didn't respond right away. I should have felt excited. This was everything I said I wanted. But I wasn't ready. Sounded too final. Too real. I hesitated and she noticed. Her face changed. She said, "Do you even love me, or was this just an escape for you?" I didn't know how to answer that. The next few days things shifted. She became distant, quiet. Not cold, just distracted. I kept trying to reach her, but she responded less and less. When I confronted her, she said she needed space to think. That everything was happening too fast. That maybe we weren't thinking clearly. Then one night I was coming down the stairs when I heard them arguing. Not yelling, just sharp, intense words. My name came up. Froze. My dad was asking why she defended me so much, why she always took my side. She said I was just a kid trying to figure things out. He said, "That's not what this is." And the silence that followed was louder than anything they said. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat the next day. Every time I looked at him, I wondered what he knew. Every time I looked at her, I wondered if she'd said something. The walls were closing in fast, and there was no way out that didn't leave someone broken. Then came the accident. Mistake. I left my phone on the table. Just for a second. I was in the other room. I heard the notification. I came back and saw him holding it. The screen was still lit up. One message. I can't stop thinking about last night. From her. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me, dead in the eyes, then handed me the phone and walked away. That silence, it was worse than yelling. Worse than anything I imagined. It was the moment I knew nothing would ever be the same again. Sarah tried to talk to him that night. I heard the door slam. Then nothing. She came to my room crying. Said he didn't say a word to her either. Just walked past like she didn't exist. She said, he knows. But I don't think he's going to say anything. That scared me more than if he had. The house turned cold after that. No more shared meals. No more conversations. Just 3 people occupying a space, pretending not to see the wreckage between them. My dad avoided us both. I tried to act normal, but it was useless. The tension was suffocating. We were living on borrowed time. Sarah started packing small things. Not saying anything about it. But I noticed. She was preparing to leave. I asked her when. She said soon. But she didn't know where to go. Didn't know what I wanted anymore. Neither did I. I kept thinking about the beginning. How it all started with harmless conversations. Cup of tea. Shared laugh. And now we were here. A family falling apart in slow motion. No screaming. No dramatic confrontations. Just silence. And the knowledge that everything had already changed. I kept waiting for the explosion. But it never came. Just the quiet destruction of trust. She left without saying goodbye. Just a note on the kitchen counter in her handwriting, folded twice. I read it 3 times before it even registered. She said she was sorry. That she couldn't stay in a house where everything felt like a slow collapse. That she didn't blame me, but she had to leave for her own sanity. No explanations beyond that. No promises. No direction. Just silence after she was gone. My dad didn't mention it. Not once. It was as if she never existed. Her things disappeared from the house over the next few days, like she'd planned it carefully. I wanted to ask him if he was okay, but I couldn't. I wanted to tell him I was sorry, but I knew it wouldn't fix anything. He looked at me differently now, like I was someone he'd never known. Someone he didn't want to know. He started spending more time at work. Left early, came home late. We passed each other like strangers. I started avoiding home whenever I could. I crashed at friends' places, stayed out, tried pretending like none of it had happened. But the guilt followed me everywhere. It was stitched into every conversation, every silence. I went through her messages again, trying to make sense of it all. Looking for clues, for a sign that maybe she'd meant something more permanent. But they all felt like echoes now. Meaningless, empty. I realized how fragile it all was. How easily we had crossed a line and how little there was to hold on to once it was done. For weeks I waited for something. Message. Anything. But she vanished. No social media updates. No word from mutual contacts. She disappeared completely. And with her, any hope I had left of making sense of what we were. It felt like I had dreamed it. But the damage was real. I tried to pick up the pieces. Went back to school, pretended to be fine, buried myself in work. People asked about home. Lied. Said everything was normal. Said my stepmom moved for work. No one questioned it. But I kept hearing her voice in my head. The way she said she felt alive. The way she looked at me like I was her escape. Haunted me. Months passed. The house stayed quiet. My dad and I never really talked again. We existed beside each other. Never with each other. I thought time would fix it. That eventually the silence would break. Didn't. Some things don't heal. Some fractures go too deep. I started writing again. Not because of her this time. Because I needed to make sense of what happened. To get it out. I wrote everything, the beginning, the tension, the collapse. I didn't change the names. I didn't sugarcoat anything. It wasn't a love story anymore. It was a warning. Confession. A truth I could barely look at but had to face. One night I printed the pages. Put them in a folder. Left them on the table with a note for my dad. I didn't stay to see if he read it. I just left. I walked until I couldn't feel my legs. I don't know what I was expecting. Redemption, understanding, maybe even forgiveness. But I knew I'd never get it. And maybe I didn't deserve it. Sarah was gone. My dad was a stranger. And I was left with a truth I couldn't change. I told myself I was young, that I didn't know better. But I did. We both did. And we did it anyway. That's the part that doesn't let me sleep. There are no clean endings. No moments where everything clicks into place. Just silence, distance, regret. The kind you carry forever.